Hello there, and welcome to the Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders podcast. I am your host, Tyler, bringing you news on all things nerd and geek related. This week's episode will cover the ever-growing problem that is Fallout 76, the epic in Steam Store Wars, Anthem, Punisher, Star Wars, and more. So, here we go. And starting things off in the gaming report, like some cruel and bewildering joke, Fallout 76 players have discovered that the game's latest patch accidentally re-broke something that had previously been fixed, and they are not happy. Bobby pins used in Fallout 76 to pick locks originally weighed a ridiculous 0.1 pounds earlier this month. Bethesda finally patched them to make them weigh 0.001 pounds, something that was both more realistic and helped free up much needed space in players' inventories. After yesterday's patch 5, they're back to weighing 0.1. This might seem like a small problem, but for players who have spent the last couple of months running around out of patience, it's just the latest in a series of highly discouraging signs that keep piling up. Many players are also disappointed with a series of tweaks yesterday's patch made to the game's perk system. Cards like Demolition Expert, which grants bonus damage when using explosives, was nerfed from 100% at its max level down to 60%. Other cards like White Knight and Licensed Plumber saw similar reductions in their effectiveness as well. People who invested in those skills now feel like they're at a big disadvantage and have asked for some way to respec when future changes like this happen. Another outspoken group of players feels increasingly turned off by Bethesda's approach to nerfing items and abilities it seems as being too powerful rather than making the ones stronger to help compensate. Other players are angry that new microtransaction items continue to get added to the game's item store while all of this is going on, to which Bethesda community manager responded that the Atom team is separate from the one working on bug fixes and patches. Quote, I understand that it can be frustrating to see the Atom store updated when you're waiting for the gameplay updates, but it's separate from those working on the code, they wrote on the game's subreddit. People's dissatisfaction with the continued state of Fallout 76 has been compounded by allegations that the latest patch has also brought back some of the item duplicating exploits that plagued the game earlier in the month. In a thread that blew up on the game's subreddit overnight, user GXKid notes that there has been a flood of new listings for rare in-game items on eBay since yesterday. A quick search shows over 100 new postings for things like legendary 2-shot assault rifles and tri-barrel miniguns, but so far there hasn't been any solid evidence that duping has made a full-blown comeback. While the studio hasn't publicly addressed the complaints yet, a community manager said in the comments of the Reddit threads that the issue with bobby pins and other feedback on the new patch are currently being discussed by the development team. One theory circulating among players as to why bobby pins are back to being overweight is that the newest update used an older build of Fallout 76 that caused some aspects of the game to appear to be back where they were at the beginning of the month. Bethesda did not immediately respond to the request for comment on the matter. In response to the latest missteps, there have been renewed calls for Bethesda to implement a beta server where players can test out new patches before they go live in the actual game, similar to what Overwatch does, Diablo, stuff like that, to which one player responded, quote, good news, you're already in the beta server. Players hated the update for two reasons. They didn't want the nerfs to happen, and more importantly, the update reintroduced old bugs. Apparently, the reemergence of these bugs happened because the developers did the patch on an older version of Fallout 76 and essentially re-rolled a pile of other fixes that happened since the release. On the official Bethesda forums, there were several people on there as well that were posting multiple page threads about what was going on, and it seems Bethesda didn't like that and reportedly have removed several forum threads where players complained about the new patch. Furthermore, when the users' threads got deleted, they tried opening up similar threads about the same issue, every time in a more polite manner, and the end result is that they got banned, and Bethesda didn't even bother to list the reason for the ban. Now, thankfully, it seems that Bethesda doesn't have as much influence over Reddit as they do on their own forums, so no one was banned yet, and the complaint thread is still up. Furthermore, it stood at about 11,000 upvotes at the time of this recording. Now, the public view of Fallout 76 has been scarred by what is either Bethesda's incompetence or just blatant carelessness, as this game can now be found for sale some stores for $10 mere months after release. Some retailers have even taken it a step further and are now actually giving Fallout 76 away for free for anyone who buys a used PlayStation 4 controller. It's just sad that last month, Bethesda said that they would be more open and transparent with their community and fans, but they're literally doing the exact opposite. I still stand by my prediction that this game will eventually become free to play. And honestly, what Bethesda should do is wash their hands of this at this point, do what Square Enix did with Final Fantasy XIV, and just pull the game. Then give it to the team that did Elder Scrolls Online and let them fix it. Then release it at a lower price. Or just refund all sales, then re-release it as free to play. Then they can actually get away with having a microtransaction type format for their game. Games like Warframe and Fortnite can get away with that because it is free to play. And I guarantee that if it were to be a free to play game and they were to have focus on microtransaction shop as a source of income, they would recoup their losses almost instantly. And this wouldn't be a problem. Next up on the list, Epic Games Store and Steam Store Wars. This comes from Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku. On Monday, the latest game in the series, Metro Exodus, became an Epic Games Store exclusive, prompting Valve to call the sudden departure, quote, unfair to Steam customers. For some Steam users, that's served as a rallying cry. While Epic plans to honor all Steam pre-orders and Deep Silver is selling the game at a lower price point than it would have on Steam, $50 as opposed to Steam's $60, thanks to Epic's more favorable 88-12 split revenue split, this does mean fans will have to play Metro Exodus on another PC game launcher that is, for now, bare bones, bordering on straight up bad, a wrinkle they weren't expecting just a couple of weeks from the game's February 15th release date. This has led to a sustained outcry in the form of everything from review bombs of previous series entries, Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, to irate comments on every possible social media post associated with the game. The Steam review bombs especially have been vicious, with over 3,000 negative reviews being posted to the Steam store pages of 2033 and Last Light in the past 2 days. Some of them include, this game is actually good, but fuck Deep Silver and they're censored by Steam. Actions regarding Metro Exodus, says one of the most highly upvoted. Others say, let me just rate this game negatively while Deep Silver sucks Epic's, censored by Steam, in the next room. Another says, am going to buy the game next week, but greedy publishers don't want me to buy it, so I'm going to pirate it. It is, unfortunately, not a surprising response given the audience Steam has cultivated over the years by implicitly and explicitly advocating an irresponsible hands-off approach, allowing a pervasive player versus developer atmosphere to develop, and failing to consistently safeguard against review bombs and other forms of toxicity. What's surprising here is that Valve chose to make a public statement that would, almost without a doubt, rile these people up. The company either chose to play dirty by kicking the hornet's nest and then chucking it out the door alongside Metro Exodus, or it's woefully naive about its audience's behavioral tendencies. Metro fans also took to blaming publisher THQ Nordic for things suddenly going off rails, but it clarified that Koch Media, a subsidiary whose gaming division is Metro publisher Deep Silver, made the call. Yesterday on Twitter, THQ Nordic said it won't rule out future exclusives, but that it wants to, quote, have players choose the platform of their liking and make our portfolio available to as many outlets as possible. However, CEO Lars, I'm going to butcher this, Wingfords, later walked that back in a statement to THQ's investor site, saying that he fully supports our subgroups' autonomy to run their respective businesses and is in full support of this decision in particular. Kotaku reached out to Deep Silver and Epic for more information on why the deal got made, when it did, and what the companies plan to do about the backlash, if anything. But the former didn't reply, and the latter declined to comment. In a press release about the deal, though, Epic CEO and founder Tim Sweeney made its appeal at least partially apparent when he said that Metro Exodus will be, quote, underpinned by Epic's marketing support and commitment to offering an 88% revenue split, which Deep Silver CEO Keemans Kundratitz said will allow his company to, quote, invest more into the future of Metro and our outgoing partnership with sales developer 4A Games to the benefit of our Metro fans. It remains to be seen, however, whether or not things will actually play out that way. What happens, after all, if Metro sells like a busted gas mask in an irradiated wasteland instead of a hotcake in an anywhere? Gamers have also swarmed on the game's official social media accounts, and even some of those individuals, including Dmitry Glukhovsky, who wrote the book series on which Metro is based on and also helps pen the game's narratives. Initially, people believed that Glukhovsky, in an unexpected twist, was also outspokenly against boarding the steamless train, but despite screenshots of an either now deleted or never existent Instagram comment in which he purportedly said he was powerlessly standing by as the series was being killed, his available Instagram comments suggest otherwise. I am not responsible for publishers' business decisions. I do my own little thing, imagine worlds, he said in response to one person shoving blame onto him. Why? He asked someone else who said that the deal was a bad decision. I think Epic will do everything to help, and I did not have an impression that Steam gives a shit. Kotaku reached out to Glukhovsky for clarification, but he did not reply ahead of the publishing. Doubtless, the Epic Games Store needs work, but Steam's stranglehold isn't good for anyone, and competition, something people have been begging for years, isn't always friendly. Is Metro Exodus's exodus to Epic Land inconvenient? Definitely. Is it worth this much fuss? Probably not. And while many of the hundreds of responses to Glukhovsky's post either wrongly chastise him or fan the flames for arguments, a few attempt to put things in perspective. All these hate comments referring to Dimitri and 4A are the stupidest thing that I've ever seen, not counting the review bombing on Steam. In parentheses, good way to show at Epic Games how useful are their user reviews, reads one response. Now, this is exactly, like that person said, the reason why game companies are probably going to be swarming to the Epic Games Store. A studio makes one or two decisions that the, quote, fans don't like, and review bombs happen. One of the things that, quote, skeptics in the gaming community didn't like about the Epic Games Store was that you couldn't post a review in the store. Well, I don't know about you, but I never really took the reviews on Steam for any value at all in the first place, especially since there's been coverage of studios flocking to their own games with fake reviews as to garner more sales, which has been covered by YouTubers like Jimquisition. But that's just me. I know a lot of people that will refuse to play a game solely based on the fan review scores alone, whether it be on Steam, Xbox Marketplace, whatever. I've sworn by Diablo 3 after Reaper of Souls came out, and I know people that will straight up refuse to play it still because of how it was reviewed at launch, even though it's a completely better game now. But I digress. Third on the gaming report, after troubled Anthem VIP demo, which ended with BioWare handing out skins and javelins for free to make up for all the downtime, a public demo is scheduled for this weekend from Friday, February 1st through Sunday, February 3rd. It sounds like the next Anthem demo will also feature a new activity not seen in the VIP demo. In a recent blog post, BioWare's Chad Robertson advised players to stick around for Sunday's afternoon. You'll see a glimpse of some of the cool things we'll be doing in the future. Some players have speculated that this surprise is our first proper look at Anthem's story, but given the lengths BioWare has gone in order to remove story content from the demo, I'm leaning more toward it being a taste of Anthem's in-game content, which players are equally curious about. Happily, it sounds like most of the issues that bogged down the VIP demo will be resolved ahead of the open demo. As Robertson explained, BioWare has begun working on server performance, bugged Javelin unlocks, login issues, bugged mission rewards, and more. Robertson also said that the infinite loading screens which plagued the VIP demo have been improved, which I'm hoping translates to fixed, or at least at the very least, less infinite. And I've had several listeners reach out to me whenever I post or discuss Anthem in my episodes, and I had one ask me, due to the leak about the supposed, well, I should say quote leak about the supposed marketplace for Anthem, if I feel that it's going to be a microtransaction heavy game. So I'll just preface what I'm about to say with I haven't gotten around to playing the beta for Anthem, because that's what it is. It's a beta, it's not a demo. So what I'm about to say is coming from word of mouth that I've heard from my friends and from the streams that I've watched on Twitch. That being said, I think that visually this game looks great. I mean, I can't recall a BioWare game that didn't look visually stunning. And I asked some of the streamers that I was watching how the controls felt and how they played, and they said that the controls felt really fluid and that they felt great. So, I mean, I'm not worried about how the controls and everything are. The combat did look rather repetitive, but no different than any other game in the same genre, like Warframe or Destiny or Division. The downsides that I had seen were definitely the latency and rubber banding that was happening with the server issues. But like I said in the report, BioWare has stated that that should all be fixed and corrected by the time this next demo goes live. But in regards to the microtransactions and the supposed, quote, leak, I don't want to say for sure, because I don't want to place blame or accusations, but I think it's possible that someone at either EA or BioWare could have intentionally leaked that pricing with the microtransactions to see how the community would respond to it. So we see skins and whatnot at like $20 and smaller items for like $10, and the community is just kind of like, nope. So then they turn around and they say, oh, well, that's just from an earlier iteration of the marketplace, and it isn't meant to be taken at face value, so don't pay attention to that. But if the community would have loved it and been like, oh, $20 for that isn't too bad, then I guarantee that BioWare or EA, whoever it was, would be throwing a party. Because look, no cosmetic item should be the third of a price of your AAA title. I don't care what it is. And I love BioWare. Like, this is coming from a BioWare fanboy. That there should not be $20 microtransaction items in a full-priced game. So, basically what I'm saying is, to answer that question is, 1, play the demo. 2, watch streams of the demo. Ask other people what they feel about it as they're playing it. Watch YouTube videos on the demo if you don't want to watch streams. If you're still on the fence about it due to the in-game economy, then wait. Wait until after launch, then see what the reaction is, see what the reviews are, then watch full, the streams of it on Twitch of people playing it. If it's good, then and if you still want it, then buy it. If it's bad, then you saved yourself some headache, and you saved your wallet. So that wraps up the gaming report. Up next is movie news. So even after the second season of The Punisher hit Netflix January of this year, the fans that had been waiting 2 years for the latest updates in the saga of Frank Castle weren't satisfied for long. The buzz for the third season has already begun, but nothing has been confirmed yet by Netflix. In a recent interview, Jon Bernthal was asked how he feels about playing the iconic character and about the possibility of the show being canceled. Bernthal admitted that he didn't know what would end up happening with the show, but that he feels at peace with whatever the outcome may be. According to him, he only tries to worry about the things that he can control, and he claims that he can only do the best that he can with the character in the time that he's given to occupy the role. Right now, Netflix is definitely the hottest streaming service right out on the market, with the widest variety of original and classic content around. Whether it's animated family films or shows like The Punisher, everyone seems to be turning to Netflix for their daily entertainment. However, when it comes to The Punisher and its possible third season, the platform has said nothing. Some online forums are speculating that the relationship between Netflix and Marvel Studios might be in disrepair, especially after the cancellation of the comic book shows as Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Daredevil. It is possible that Netflix is waiting for the second season of The Punisher to be available on the platform for a while longer before announcing a cancellation, since it is a brand new release. It is equally possible that they have heard the fan clamor for a third season and are hard working securing contracts from all the actors prior to breaking the news about even more episodes. If there is to be a third season, it likely won't be available until 2021, following the pattern of the first 2 seasons. So I definitely think there's a lot behind the curtain stuff going on between Disney and Netflix, with each claiming that the other is the one responsible for the cancellations of like Daredevil, Iron Fist, etc. So I don't feel like we'll truly know one way or the other for a while. But with every other show, minus Jessica Jones being canceled thus far, it's almost a safe bet to assume that Punisher might be next. But it's also completely possible, like I said, that Disney has told them that they have no plans to continue with the Punisher in the near future due to the graphic nature surrounding the character. So it wouldn't really fit within the MCU. It wouldn't really fit in their Disney Plus streaming service. So maybe Netflix could squeeze another season at least before their contracts are expired with the rights to the show. If that is the case, then it would be quite possible that we see Daredevil, Luke Cage, and or Iron Fist show up again in the future in some form, just probably not with Netflix. Next up, so Daniel Radcliffe sat down with the Hollywood Reporter, and they kind of reminiscing a little bit about Harry Potter and some interesting, I guess you could say, secrets. When filming began on the first Harry Potter movie in 2001, Daniel Radcliffe was just 11 years old, and the rest of the cast was the same age or younger. Kids at that age lose teeth. So, crew members had to think of a solution to the widespread problem of keeping continuity. In a new interview promoting their new show, Miracle Workers, Daniel Radcliffe and Karen Sony revealed how they got around that problem. They explained, when they were doing the earlier movies, because their teeth were falling out, they would have a cast made of all their teeth, so that if one fell out, they could have a prop tooth put in just so they could keep filming, which actually kind of makes sense. Kids lose teeth. And this is actually a way better Harry Potter secret than the revealed tidbit of information from Pottermore, which told fans that Hogwarts used to not have plumbing, and that witches and wizards would cast spells to send their poop that they just put wherever away, somewhere else. This wasn't well received by fans, especially since the fans pointed out that there isn't a disappearing spell in Harry Potter. So, yeah, there's that. And next up, finally, after years of denial and rumor and more rumors and more denial and more misdirection that seemed to corroborate the initial rumors, it looks like Ben Affleck is finally hanging up Batman's cape and cowl. What we do know is that he's been not so secretly hoping that this would happen for a while. Either way, Deadline reported that Matt Reeves' The Batman, which we heard is coming in 2021, will feature a younger Bruce Wayne who is not Ben Affleck. Now, Affleck played the Dark Knight in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, and Justice League, and while none of those movies were good, it's fair to say that most of the problems weren't really with Affleck himself. But the Martha scene was pretty awful, as was almost every scene in Justice League. But Ben Affleck's one scene in Suicide Squad was okay because he didn't do a whole lot. Affleck sort of confirmed this news on Twitter today, saying that he's excited to see Reeves' vision come to life. Seeing as this all just broke, there's no word on who might replace Ben Affleck in the Batman, but surely Hollywood will be able to find someone to take up the cowl and cape once again. I think that what DC and Warner Brothers should do is recast Bruce Wayne / Batman with Michael Keaton as an old man Bruce Wayne and have a younger Bruce Wayne / Batman so they can do flashbacks with the young Batman. Have him be an actual detective for once and have the case span across decades. Or you can just cast Nikolai Coster-Waldau from Game of Thrones, because I think he'd make a badass Bruce Wayne in Batman. So that's my pick for Bruce Wayne / Batman. And there was other news that broke that there's the possibility that Wolverine will be recast on Disney Plus. And I posted a poll that I realized I didn't set as public, so no one was able to vote on it. But I feel like Joe Manganiello would be a great cast for a Wolverine, but I do realize that fans have been clamoring for a closer to comic continuity of an actor, so a shorter one. So I think old Joe's out because he's pretty tall. I think that would be pretty rad. And lastly, on movie news, Jon Favreau is pretty much the only connection for behind-the-scenes shots on the upcoming Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian. He's posted armor pictures, he's posted scene shots, etc. But the most recent one shows an all too familiar face from Star Wars. It's a droid, R5-D4, the droid best known as the one in A New Hope that blew up seconds after being bought by Luke and his uncle Owen. Commenters, bloggers, journalists, all of these people are literally losing their minds over this. They're now claiming that Disney is muddying up the original trilogy timeline with this. Like, this can't simply be a nice little Easter egg Favreau is throwing out there for fans. No, because that would just be too simple. No, let's just talk about the, quote, implications of this devastating impact on official canon. No, it's not likely at all that the Jawas, who were scavengers and repairers, couldn't simply have the know-how on how to repair a droid. I literally can't anymore with the Star Wars fandom. You guys are the reason why my hair is going gray. No doubt about that. So, to wrap up the show, I have a little bit of tabletop gaming news. So, game designer Matt Colville, who I've discussed a couple times on this show, has released a new class for Dungeons & Dragons called the Illrigger class. And he premiered it on his Dungeons & Dragons stream, which I talked about last week. Colville is best known in the D&D community as the maker and the host of the Running the Game, which is a popular YouTube series that explains on how to run a successful Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Now, earlier this week, on Wednesday, Colville debuted his new Dungeons & Dragons streaming series called The Chain, in which he DMs a party playing as the leaders of a mercenary group. Colville is incorporating rules and mechanics from his Strongholds and Followers supplement, along with a new Illrigger class that he designed. Now, the class is an infernal anti-paladin of sorts, serving an archdevil and receiving a portion of its infernal power in return. Illriggers are considered as the shock commandos of hell, able to summon and command devils and cast a limited number of unique spells. The Illrigger also has two core class features. The Infernal Conduit ability gives the players the ability to create a conduit between the Illrigger and another creature that allows for the transfer of hit points. The Illrigger can either choose to heal the creature or take the creature's hit points to heal themselves. The other feature is the Baleful Interdict that gives the Illrigger the ability to burn spell slots in order to place seals on a creature. This seal can then be activated to inflict extra damage on an enemy whenever you or an ally hit it with an attack. The Illrigger can choose between 3 Archdukes of Hell to serve, each of whom can grant them different powers. Those who serve Moloch gain a number of stealth abilities. Illriggers that pledge allegiance to Dispater? I don't know. Become more versatile at frontline combat. And those who follow Asmodeus become more potent spellcasters. Colville is phenomenal at coming up with interesting mechanics that naturally fit within 5th edition play. And this class definitely looks like a fun class to play. It's a little bit more complex than just a normal paladin, and it seems perfect for players looking to play in a evil campaign, which he's done videos on how to properly run an evil campaign and how to properly play an evil playable character. And he also noted that this class is in a pre-alpha phase and will likely be tweaked as the campaign goes along, and he has a chance to see the design in action and properly balance the character. Now, you can check out the full class guide on his website, which I will post in the doobly-doo below. And Colville's The Chain airs on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on Colville's Twitch channel. So, this concludes this episode of the Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders podcast. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please, if you like what you heard, like, follow, subscribe, review, all that great stuff. And be sure to share this podcast with your friends. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube. There's just so many ways to listen, so there's no excuse for them to say that they can't. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SLNH Podcast, and be sure to pick up some merch. There's a link in the description. And thank you so much once again for your reviews and comments. It really helps me grow this podcast and just get better and produce better content. So, everyone, this is Tyler from the Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders podcast signing off, and may the Force be with you.